Pecha Kucha 196, Hulk sketches, and Saurus paint. I wasn't sure this week if I was going back to work or not. Work very conveniently decided to not say anything at all, like they didn't in June, so I'm still basically not working. Not that it made much of a difference to my output. I did do some stuff, a little bit here, a little bit there, as per usual. I was in Manga Studio trying to figure out if I could find some kind of brush to paint with without it being complicated. Something where it's got a tapered edge, colors mix, it's not too aggressive. I can start building images using shapes in different colors. I decided, because I was looking at Warhammer art, to try to just emulate what I'd seen, draw some kind of shape of some kind of lizard man soldier, and then kind of block it in with colors, see what happens. I started with just like black and then decided, let me just color pick the actual colors I want, and then actually see if I can create forms just by literally blocking in and altering as I go, trying to kind of trial and error my way through some kind of thing. And then I thought, you know what, reference wouldn't be a bad idea since I don't know what Saurus warriors actually look like. That's what the lizard men are called in the Warhammer world. So I went and grabbed me an actual picture and thought, okay, let's use this. And at the very least, because I couldn't even remember if they were blue or green. And then I just went forward from there. Okay. So this was a far more appropriate way of going about it. I did find what I was effectively doing was kind of drawing with a paintbrush, like the brow, the eye line, much in the same way I would with pencils, but then when it comes to the mouth, I'm kind of blocking it in wholesale. Then it's really about building up in layers, so then I decided to add some, detail. In theory, this is maybe half done. You start broad, you zoom in, you add more, you zoom in, you add more, and then effectively you end up with what you're going for. So the idea was supposed to be on the left-hand side, I keep adding more information. I leave the right-hand side where it was as I continue to add more detail so that there would be a direct contrast. But in the end, I kind of thought when I started adding scales to his left shoulder that this is probably the wrong way to go about creating a cohesive image. What I really should have been doing was just padding out the entire kind of scene with broad shapes and then leaving the detail until I was convinced the shapes were right. Pencil underdrawing couldn't have gone amiss, but I did want to just experiment with just shapes with no plan. To be continued as always. So I was watching a David Finch live stream on YouTube where he was effectively just drawing a picture of the Hulk. I'm gonna do one of these things at some point when I get my shit together. And it just made me think, let me pick up my Immortal Hulk comics and just randomly draw pictures out of it. Practice makes perfect, as they say. So that's kind of what I did. I just flicked through some random pages, didn't go too far in, and then started drawing what I was seeing. For me, faces aren't too complicated, but really the range and the dynamism you can get with different faces, different angles, different artistic representations of faces, there's more to it than you'd think. I was kind of working at a larger scale and then decided, let me just move away from faces because it's kind of simple for me. The composition of a comic book page and the panels is something I need even more work on, so let's just look at that. So Samson's, just landed with Bruce Banner and he's making a crater as he lands. I found it much harder to draw this because there's more moving parts, so I kind of went looking for images where there's a scene, there's a story being told, and I'm kind of half committing to blocking out the bits where there's speech with speech boxes and stuff like that, speech bubbles or text boxes. The shorthand the artist used to draw the tree made me think, can you really get away with just using jagged lines for bushes with a little bit of tree trunk? I think it's a lot like drawing teeth. Jim Lee talks about it. If you use the shadows, you don't have to draw the thing. You just draw the illusion of the thing. But you do have to know what you're doing. A few illustrations in, I kind of thought, I feel like it takes too long to even do simple things. So I decided to try and not zoom in, to not overly detail the images. So I started kind of drawing thumbnail sketches. In real terms, these sketches are about the size of a post-it note. As I'm drawing them on the surface of my Cintiq. It's far smaller a canvas than it feels comfortable to get detail with, but it does enable me to get a better sense of the overall composition as I'm putting it down. A lot of the composition in the comic I was looking at is way beyond me. We're talking about, complicated angles and anatomy at complicated angles. So it's a learning experience. Like I don't even know if I know what's going on in this panel. It's great. I learned a lot more drawing it than I did when I skimmed it when I was reading it. So I decided I'd do a second go over with a tighter pencil line, see if I could actually figure out some of the stuff. But zooming in just made sure I kind of lost the overall strength of the composition, even though I was kind of detailing the muscles a bit better. And Circle of the Week is, while I was doing this, what was I listening to on YouTube? Streets of Rage soundtrack, the real one, not whatever that thing is they put in Streets of Rage 4. Neither here nor there, but I remember, I haven't forgotten. But that brings us to the end of Pecha Kucha 196, and I'll see you next time.